All right, welcome to the Isagenix Nutritional Workshop training. It's going to be on the Cleanse for Life, the world's first and only full body nutritional cellular cleanse. And I really look at the products and the company of Isagenix as freeing people. There's a few phrases that I really like and I really connect with, and that is Isagenix wakes people up. It helps free people both physically and financially, whatever they choose to opt into. We have the products to back that, a compensation plan to back that. But I really, for one, I love the science behind the products, and there's a lot of science behind our products. And over the next week or so, I'm going to hit the 5 pillars of health and go through those one at a time and just make it its own webinar. So tonight's going to be on the Cleanse for Life. And so welcome to the webinar. It will be posted in YouTube on my Mechanic to Millionaire YouTube channel. So you'll be able to access it there. It'll probably be titled something Training on Cleanse for Life or something along those lines. All right, so let's jump into this. If you have any questions, just type those in the questions box and I'll get to those at the end. Here we go. Before I get started, because we're working with nutritional supplement, I just need to put the disclaimer there. So if you want to take some time to read that, there we go. Now I'm going to, as I go through and I start to get into some of the descriptions and the health benefits and how they support the body, there's been studies that have been done, literally clinical studies, and a lot of it I'm taking right out of this book right here. This is a book. I think they're on the 7th edition now. This is the 4th edition that I have. It's very thick. It's, a couple inches thick. It's a good dictionary-sized book and pretty big pages. And I listened to Susan Sly, who is just a rock star in Isagenix and triathlete and marathon runner and Boston qualifier, and she trained on this probably about 10 years ago, and it's just the information that I learned from it has never left me. And she mentioned this book, and literally she quoted right out of the book when she talked about some of the ingredients that are contained in the Cleanse for Life. So although in the studies that are pointed out in this particular book, it's going to talk about different health challenges that people, it literally has the labels for them. In no way am I saying that taking our cleanse is going to cure these things that have been tied to these specific nutrients. Compliantly and being in accordance with the FDA, we're going to actually go over what it says in these books or in this book, and the healing that the clinicals have shown with the health challenges that are listed with each of the ingredients. I'm going to go over probably about 8 ingredients, 8 or 9. There's over 100 active ingredients, but it'll give you a good idea of why it's really smart to use the Cleanse for Life. But I don't want you to make the correlation that I'm saying that our product, our nutritional product, is going to cure these things because it says this in the book. But these will be what has been shown specifically relating to the specific nutrient, and it's coming right out of this book. All right, makes sense? So Isagenix is committed to unlocking the secrets of science and nature, and their mission statement is to do just that. And then in the process, create the healthiest people on the planet and releasing them from physical and financial pain. So that's the mission statement of Isagenix, and going on 16 years now. This year is 16 years. We're in the top 25 companies in the world in the wellness industry, and we're only been around for 16 years. And it's the expertise of John Anderson, who's been formulating for over 40 years now, for over 600 companies during his formulating career. And the big challenge that he had, he said, when he started Isagenix as, founded Isagenix and brought Jim and Kathy Coover out of retirement. And he says every single company that he's ever formulated had compromised the products. There wasn't one exception. And he formulated for over 600 companies. And so there's some other studies out there like that have been in the news and in newspapers, where there's two different ones that I'm thinking of, and one of them was called bogus supplements, where CNN reported on it, and there was an independent lab that had studied nutritional products that were in the marketplace. Not one of them had what they said were in it. Um, all of them had compromised the quality, and literally what it said was in the ingredients. They can have less than 10% of what's listed on the bottle and still be within guidelines. There was another study that LA Times did where they had pulled, I think it was 23 different supplements off the store shelf, and only 3 of them had what they said were in it, and all the rest were basically, um, like the CNN study, bogus supplements. So when you really are committed to not just creating a quality product with no compromise, but having the genius behind the formulations, like John Anderson and his expertise and formulating for over 600 companies, over 2,500 different health products. And he even created the MREs for the military, the emergency meals. And John said that he was inspired. This formulation for the Cleanse for Life, uh, John Anderson was having to sit down with Jim and Kathy Coover. They were talking about the issues that society is being faced with, and what could be done about it. And Jim Coover actually posed the question to John Anderson and said, John, there's a lot of toxicity out there, and people aren't even able to absorb the nutrients they're putting in the body because of all the metabolic waste and the toxicity that is plugging things up within the body, the cells and the hormone receptors. And is there any way to remove all that, like cleanse the body on a cellular level? And that was the question. The magic is in asking the right question. And John, basically, Kathy Coover describes it as he kind of went into a trance. And he stood up and he said, I'll be back in 48 hours. And John Anderson said that what was happening was it literally downloaded into his mind. He saw things coming together in a way that he had never seen them before. There wasn't anything new as far as the ingredients. It was the way things were brought together and put together in a synergistic form. And so he came back, and they tried out the program that John had put together. The biggest part, and the actual product that I'm talking about that John experienced that for, was the Cleanse for Life. And it ended up becoming a big weight loss sensation and phenomenon, and they didn't expect that. So we'll go through and we'll talk a little bit about that, and you'll see why the product does what it does as we go through a few of these ingredients. So the Cleanse for Life, it comes in liquid and powdered form. The big bottle is a 32-ounce bottle. The little round container is a powdered form. It has a little tiny scooper in there with it. And it's the same amount as you would get in that 32-ounce bottle. It's just in powdered form. And you're not losing any of the effectiveness with it being in powder or the liquid, vice versa. It's best to, once you open the liquid form, to keep it in the refrigerator. The box that you see there are 2-ounce bottles of the liquid form. So it's a whole body herbal cleansing drink, as it says there at the top, that aids the body's natural ability to remove impurities. What I love about John and his formulating ability is he understands the power of the human anatomy and the innate capacities that it has to take care of itself and to heal itself and to thrive. But John's expertise is knowing how to fuel those systems, how to support that innate ability. It doesn't deplete the body like a lot of cleanses do out there. It's not a liver cleanse. It's not a kidney cleanse. Like, as far as a specific organ, we're not targeting a specific organ. We're not doing a colon cleanse. It's the entire body. It does cleanse those organs. It does support those. It doesn't cleanse them. It supports those to work effectively. So it's a full body nutritional cellular cleanse. And it works primarily through the urination process, via the liver, the kidneys, and through the urination process. But it does cleanse the colon as well, and it helps to remove some of that mucoid. So sometimes I tell people, look, it's not one of those cleanses where you're going to have diarrhea. You need to make sure you're staying home because you might have to rush off to the bathroom. It's not that kind of cleanse. However, if you do have the mucoid that's building up on the walls of your intestines over the years, it will remove that, and you might experience a little bit of after effect and have a little bit of diarrhea, getting that really loose mucoid out. which you want that out because it covers up the cilia hair in your digestive tract, which is the absorption of water and the nutrients as your food is being digested. So you want to get that stuff out. It contains over 100 active ingredients that help support the body's vital functions and immune system. And it's very gentle, but very effective at doing what it does. All right. Now, if you want to know about the ingredients, I'm not going to go into all of the ingredients, but you can go to isoproduct.com. And also, Ina Nozak is a certified nutritionalist. And when you go to isoproduct.com, she's on, I don't know, 4 or 5 times during the week to be open for discussion and to ask questions and things like that. So that's there at your disposal, isoproduct.com, and it will go into all of the products of Isagenix. Now, there's different ways to use the Cleanse for Life. The most deep and thorough cleanse would be a 48-hour cleanse. Jojo may be on here before the end of the webinar, but she was in the middle of the master cleanse when I met her. And well, she was towards the end of it. And I started talking about cleansing. She did not want to talk to me. She was ornery. She was angry. That master cleanse is you're doing it for weeks at a time and you're not eating food. It's just not good for you. What we've learned through Isagenix and coaching is that after 48 hours, you're going to start to atrophy your muscle. And so since we're not taking in a lot of calories, we're not eating bulk food, we want our bodies to stay in cleansing mode, 48 hours is the max. And so if you look at a 24-hour cleanse, which is very effective, and our 30-day system follows the 24 hours, you can see it there on the second one. It's the cleansing once every week. Incredible results with that. But you could lose or release up to 50% or more fat loss when you do the second day in that 48 hours. And the reason why is that your body stores carbs, and as when you get to about 30 hours of not putting in all of these carbs from the food you're eating, your body starts to burn the fat and use up that for energy. So you'll burn up the carbs that are stored for energy in your liver and a little bit in your muscle within 30 hours. Then it's going to start going for the fat. But after you go over 48 hours, you'll start atrophy in your muscle and start losing muscle. And that's what diets do. People starve for a long time. They'll go on diets for weeks at a time and they're losing muscle. But when they gain the weight back, they're gaining fat back. And so they lose muscle, gain back fat on a diet. And they lose more muscle the next time they diet and gain back more fat. And that's why the body composition is thrown off over the years, over the decades. So 48 hours is it. But it's a really deep cleanse when you go 48 hours. So imagine cleaning your home and just doing a really thorough job of cleaning the home on the first day. You can liken it to that. On the second day, it would be like pulling all of the drawers out and dumping everything out and wiping the back corners down, getting down on your hands and knees in the backs of the corners of the closets, and maybe even getting a toothbrush down there in the corner. Something that the vacuum wouldn't pull out, but you're going to get it with the toothbrush. That's like what a 48-hour is. And they have a 9-day system where you do 2 back-to-back 48 hours. So you would start off with doing your meal replacement and then do 2 cleanse days in a row. And then you do 5 meal days. 5 shake days is what we call it in Isagenix. If you're just doing the cleanse, you would be eating sensible meals. But if you're on the Isagenix program, you would be doing shakes along with meals. But you have to do 5 days. You wouldn't go 2 days on and then a couple days with your meals and then 2 days. You need 5 days in between. John Anderson said everybody should follow that 9-day program like this that you're seeing here in the first box at least once every 6 months. Do that deep cleansing. And then the 24-hour is where you're doing 1 cleanse day every week. And I pretty much have followed that pretty consistently over coming up on 12 years now. I call it Maintenance Monday. I'll either cleanse on Sunday or Monday. And I love it. It helps to get rid of the toxins and the impurities and just being, exposed to the environment and everything that's out there. And I start to feel it. If I go 2 weeks without cleansing, I personally start to feel it. So to stay running at optimal level, maintaining the weight that I want to be at, I cleanse 1 day a week. The maintenance program would be the one on the far right there at the top. And that's doing, John Anderson says we need to cleanse at least twice a month. So you would pick 2 days out of the month and, try and keep that about 2 weeks apart. And it would be a full 24-hour cleanse. And then down at the very bottom, you could do daily cleansing. There's a lot of different ways to do daily, well, not a lot, but there's different options for doing daily cleansing. You could do it at night before you go to bed. 2 ounces or 1 scoop of the powder has actually been approved for 6 years and older. Even when you're nursing, you could take 1 scoop to 2 ounces. 4 ounces puts the body into cleansing mode to where it's going to be getting those impurities out of the body. You can do it at night before you go to bed. You can do it first thing when you wake up. Susan Sly says, some days I just feel like I want to take it in the middle of the afternoon. I'll have my lunch and just a regular normal day. And like say around 2, 3 o'clock, I'll just take some cleanse. And I've done that before as well. It's very energizing for me and mental clarity. So some of the things, and when you're doing a cleanse day, you're like the 48-hour or the 24-hour cleanse, you're not eating your food, you're not eating your meals, or you're not, if you're doing the isogenic shakes with this, you're not doing the shakes either. You want to keep the body in cleansing mode, rest the organs, really give that liver a chance to rest. Your liver does over 200 functions every day. It's the most worked organ in the body. And you're just going to rest it. You're going to give it these soothing nutrients, and it will cleanse, but we want to keep the food out of there. We don't want to be in digestive mode. We want to be in cleansing mode. And we're going to take in other things to keep our blood sugar up and get some of the essential things that we need on a daily basis while we're doing this. Remember, this is a nutritional cellular cleanse. It's not a fast. And there's a lot of nutritional value just in the cleanse alone, but it's not in caloric. There's not a lot of calories. So you wouldn't want to work out hard on a cleanse day. You can move around. You can do some light exercise. You can do some brisk walking. People who have done it longer will actually work out on a cleanse day because they know what their limits are and where their point of no return is. Because if you exercise too much and you're not taking in the calories, then it'll backfire on you. Your blood sugar will drop. You'll start to get angry, and then you'll want to eat everything in sight. So we don't want to do that. So some of the things that you can do along with the program that are Isagenix approved is you could do the whey thins. You can do a bag throughout the day and just snack on those whey thins. Those are a healthy, high absorbing snack that you could take during the day. The isogenic snacks are the most, that comes with the program. Those are little wafers. They say about 6, I say 6 to 9, depending on you as a person. 6 is a good starting point. 9, if you're a little more active during the day, maybe you have a little more stress. I would rather do those than just cave in and throw, and quit my cleanse day because it was, too high of a stress day or too much exertion. I would actually go over the limit that they say instead of just totally caving and quitting the cleanse. Isodelites, the saying is friends don't let friends cleanse without isodelites. They have 4 different flavors. There's chocolate and there's milk chocolate. Or there's dark chocolate and milk chocolate. They have them green tea infused or without green tea. But the ORAC value is very high with the green tea. It's up at, you can see it there, 5,700, equivalent to a cup of wild blueberries. And then these chocolates are not just something to be able to, have it as a treat. They're designed for the cleanse days. They have amino acids in them that will actually feed your brain the amino acids that help to sustain mental clarity, focus, keep the cravings away, those types of things. So I think you could have, I think it's up to 4 of those on a cleanse day. And I have had a couple of them today, and I'm not even cleansing today. But you want to make sure you take them on an empty stomach. Otherwise, the amino acids, you don't get a fair amount of those to the brain. And they use chocolate to cross that blood-brain barrier. Very, very effective. So you want to not have eaten for about an hour and a half to 2 hours when you do an Isodelite. So that's pretty easy on a cleanse day. Also, you want to, if you're taking the other supplements of Isagenix, you want to keep taking those supplements. Isogenesis, otherwise known as Product B, Ionic Supreme, your essentials, those things like that, you still want to take on your cleanse days. You can actually do 1 cup of the Isagenix coffee on a cleanse day, which has been alkalined through minerals and green tea, so it's up there on the alkalinity side. And then making sure that you're taking in a good source of water. I really like the Essentia. It's a 9.5 on the pH. And with when you get bottled pH water, you got to make sure that it's fairly fresh from the manufacturer. The longer it sits in the bottle, the lower the pH goes. So if you have a water machine that creates the pH, that's what you want. You want a good, clean source, but not just clean. If you can get your hands on a pH source of water, that's important and will help be more effective. Let me just see if JoJo has gotten in. She texted me and said she's having a hard time getting in. Let me just check to see if she's in. Oh, she is. Okay, let me unmute you, JoJo. Okay, JoJo, you there?
I am. Hey, sorry. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, I'm here now.
That's okay. So you heard what I just talked about. Anything else you want to, let me go back to that slide. Anything else you
I
want to
actually didn't. I just got here when you said that. So,
Oh, okay.
But I see where we are. So,
Okay.
I'll
Just continue on. And if there's any questions that you want to follow up with before we get to the end, we can do that as well. Just interrupt me. But I'll check in with you as we go along here. Okay. So, why do we need to cleanse? I remember when I first got into Isagenix, the whole healthcare professional community says you don't need to support your body to cleanse. There were some main spokespeople out there in the media that have television shows, and they just thought it was kind of quackery and absurd. And like, how dare we, even think of such a thing as needing to support the body to cleanse? And so we were really leading the way with this. And as technology has gone by, I'll show you the cover, but in 2005, Newsweek magazine showed how the body is storing toxins. And what they've learned is that we do need to aid the body in cleansing. Just like we do with everything else, we brush our teeth. Could you imagine? Well, how absurd to think you need to brush your teeth or take a shower. And you can correlate that in parallel with like filters that we change. We change our AC filters, we change our car filters, our oil filters on our car. Being a mechanic, I saw the necessary need for that. So let's look at some of the toxicity that's in our environment. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but our air, our food, our water, it's terrible. I remember it was MSNBC that had this study on water. Over 500 environmental and industrial chemicals are in our water on average. And Jim Rhodes does a thing where he separates the water with electrodes, and it shows the different colors. And he says, this color right here, I can't remember what color it was, maybe like a neon yellow. He said, this is pesticides. And you'll see a large amount of the pesticides in our drinking water. He says, I do this all over the country. And this is a big one that I see. You'll see prescription drugs, you'll see heavy metals and things like that, just in our drinking water that's coming out of our tap. And then the foods, yeah, we can wash our foods off, but you still are going to get the pesticides that are on inside the fruits and vegetables. They're in the meat of it, and you can't wash that off. And even organic, unfortunately, they still spray pesticides on organic, even USDA certified organic. It's like the last 2 weeks because they really want to keep the bugs and the things away from them as they become fully ripe. So it is okay for them to spray them. Most people don't know that. And organic, going into nutrition side doesn't mean that it has the nutritional mineral density in it as well. And then the air that we breathe, I just was so, I was so ignorant to it. I didn't realize, that there's fire retardant in basically everything, even baby clothes and blankets, our mattresses, our carpets. And those have carcinogens in them. Which are cancer causing, and they're just all over the place. It's you're not going to ever get away from them. Even jet fuel is found in Eskimo breast milk. And we think of Eskimos being up there up north where, there's not a lot of toxicity, but it's just hard to get away from it. So think about if you're near a busy populated city, the worse it's going to be. But no matter where you're at, you're not going to get away from it. In fact, they did a study and CNN reported on it that 10 out of 10 umbilical cord blood that was tested had over 250 man-made chemicals in the umbilical cord blood, which means it didn't leave the mother's body, and it even got past the placenta, which is like the most difficult filter to get past in the body to protect the baby. And it's just not even doing its job anymore because we're overwhelmed and undernourished with the nutrients that these organs need to operate optimally. So, these are the types of things that we're exposed to. And it's just, we need to aid the body. And you're going to be very excited to learn about what some of these ingredients do. But Jojo, you want to add anything to that? And you may have muted out. There you
Oh
go.
my goodness, it's technical difficulties today. When we think about the toxicity in the system, we don't, we think about weight loss on a level of let's eat celery and go to the gym, but we don't ever think about what the toxicity in our system does as far as keeping us overweight. And I don't know if did you do the little fat cell slider?
Not yet. No, that's coming.
So I'm jumping the shark here. So I'll let you get there and then we can chat about that. But it's just so interesting what we realize how gummed up and dirty our cells become. And so not only absorbing good nutrition can become an issue, but it's all the other things that we've absorbed that we need to get out. So those two things together are just so important. But the umbilical cord, I just read a new article. We have to get the new article on that. I have to give it to you because I just saw it the other day that it's actually higher than 287 now.
It's just hard to even fathom and really understand what that means, but you just look at what's going on. My daughter, Mackenzie, she does Isagenix with her husband, George, full time, and they have 3 kids. And she discovered for herself the dyes that are in our foods, like these chemical dyes, like the red dye, the blue dye, the yellow dye. And as she learned that one of our stores here, which has really a good healthy deli in it, it's a grocery store, has yellow dye in their salsa. And she was like really mad about that because she understands what that means now. I mean, I've been teaching this for almost 12 years now. And I remember when I discovered for myself some of these things that are going on and what does that mean to our health, and what some of the ADD that had been linked to just some of these dyes that are in our cereals and for some of these processed foods, and what that's causing for her children who have issues. And as they've eliminated these things, a friend of hers, they've seen some of the challenges with their kids go away. So this is what we're talking about. It's a very life altering. Okay, so going on, let's go into some of these ingredients now, and I'm going to go through them in detail here so that you can start to understand when we say, well, how does the body cleanse itself, or how do we cleanse the body, or how is our cleanse cleansing the body? Our cleanse doesn't cleanse the body. Your organs do that. That's the innate capacity, the ability of your body to cleanse itself through the organs and the other, your kidney, your liver, your lymphatic system. So, but we need to fuel those systems. And so here's some of the ingredients out of the book that are contained in the Cleanse for Life. So aloe, it's a natural anti-inflammatory. It is a natural antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. It also stimulates cell regeneration. Our cells are constantly dividing, about 1 billion cells a minute. If they're being affected in a negative way, how are they regenerating? Aloe has also been shown to reduce cholesterol when ingested due to repairing inflammation and scarring in the blood vessels. So our bodies produce cholesterol. And the cholesterol is like its own natural occurring salve to help with scarring that's taking place on the cardiac vessels. So a lot of people don't know that. They think cholesterol is like this bad thing. Well, if it gets out of control, yeah, it's a bad thing. But it's actually trying to heal. Well, aloe, and the way that John Anderson has extracted different parts of the aloe and the best parts of the aloe so other things don't negate it, it's a very restorative property. And so it helps with that scarring. It's been proven to do that in these studies. And it's very regenerative, very restorative. It also helps with inflammation due to radiation therapy, has been shown in the studies. It helps to reduce stomach irritation, been reported to be very beneficial for people with HIV and AIDS, helps with skin and digestive disorders. It's also been shown to be very cleansing and very alkalizing. And Jojo, if you want to add anything in these ingredients, just go ahead and speak up. Otherwise, I'm going to
Yeah.
keep going.
You know, with our aloe, you cut out for a minute. So did you talk about the inner heart fillet and how we extract our aloe?
I didn't actually say what part, but I talked about the extraction. Do you want to share that?
Yes, because this is really important that most people don't realize is that the outside of the aloe leaf, when it's crushed into the inside, it actually negates the healing property of the inside of the aloe. So what we do is they actually open it up and they take out the inner heart fillet, which is the most potent part of the aloe, and they never crush them together. So if you cut it open, there's any time that you let that outside combine in with the inside, it actually negates that. So it's so cool that they don't process it like that. They actually take the time to open up the aloe leaf to take that heart fillet out.
Yeah, and you'll see that in the written write-up on the aloe within the cleanse, how they use the inner heart fillet. Yep. And John knows how to do that with all the ingredients that are out there. That's his proprietary way of really getting the benefits from what the plants have to offer. Another one is licorice root. So it's a very potent, does a wide variety of things. It's a good diuretic, meaning it helps to get rid of the extracellular water, and it also helps to raise the good intracellular water. Licorice root forces out, so that's what I just said, and the inflammation. So as you're taking the aloe and it's helping to restore the damage that's done to the inner cardiovascular vessels, the blood vessels, that scarring, as it helps to heal that, licorice root is following right behind that and getting rid of the extracellular water, which usually builds up from the scarring, and that's what causes the inflammation. So it's a 1-2 punch. So we want to get rid of that extracellular water. That's the water that would swell up your ankles, or when you can't get your wedding ring or jewelry off your fingers because your fingers are so swollen. That's extracellular water. And you'll see that in people's faces as well that are very toxic. It looks like you could pop their skin because it looks so tight. That's extracellular water. And it interferes with cell communication as well. We want intracellular water, not extracellular water. So, and there we go. So we reduce the inflammation and restore. 1-2 punch. Licorice root is also antibacterial, antiviral. So you think about people who are working around kids all the time, or if you're flying on airplanes all the time. Here's 2 ingredients that we've read that already talk about helping with antibacterial, antiviral. If you work in a hospital, these places where you're exposed to a lot of breathing of other people who might be carrying some kind of issue. It also helps to prevent parasitic infection. It helps to stimulate the production of interferon, which is cell communication. Licorice root has also been shown to help people with MS. It also cleanses the colon and is a natural laxative. It reduces muscle spasms. I remember, having a twitching eye, and other people who have that muscle spasm in their eyelid. That's the type of things we're talking about, muscle spasms, or maybe your legs at night. Helps promote a healthy moisture and fluidity within the lungs, strengthens the adrenal glands. Good to know. It also helps to inhibit the formation of plaque and bacteria on your tooth enamel. It's been shown to be beneficial for allergies, and asthma, chronic fatigue, depression, emphysema, enlarged prostate, fevers, herpesvirus, and on and on and on it goes with licorice root. It's very powerful botanical. Anything you want to add there, Jojo?
Nope, you covered that really well.
Okay.
And I think I need to eat more licorice.
I know. I get some black licorice. If you crave it, that might be telling you something. Why black licorice, right? You can get natural black licorice and eat it. Natural antioxidant, burdock root. Susan really liked burdock root and yellow dock and these ingredients, but it's a natural antioxidant, so it's going to help with the free radicals that build up in the body. Helps to release excess fluid as well, so there's more of your edema. being addressed at extracellular water. Burdock root restores liver function. It actually restores, your liver is very powerful. It's one of those, it's like a lizard's tail. You could cut a piece of the liver off and it grows back. We talked about how it performs over 200 functions a day. For people who take a lot of prescription drugs or deal with a lot of inflammation, use a lot of alcohol, your liver is taking a beating. So we need to support it and help it to rebound and recover. It's very restorative, active ingredient. In some studies, it's been shown to possibly help prevent cancer by helping to control cell mutation. So that's going to be with the communication that's going on within the cells. It's antibacterial. There you go, antifungal. It helps cleanse the blood. It helps to restore gallbladder function. It helps stimulate healthy digestive and immune functions. It has been shown to help with skin irritations, carbuncles, and boils. I didn't know what carbuncles were. I Googled it, the image, and just trust me, it's bad. You don't want to look it up. So when we talk about needing to cleanse the body or supporting the body to cleanse, you start to get a really good idea of how this is taking place and how we can support and exactly what does that support mean. It's also been shown to flush out gout and helps with symptoms from menopause. Very powerful ingredient. So when we're talking about flushing things out, and I'm still going to go over a few other ingredients here, but if you look at this little diagram here, these little red things could be representative of metabolic waste, things that aren't being removed from the body, that the body doesn't utilize, it doesn't absorb, it doesn't assimilate, so they just kind of sit there. It could be heavy metals. So they plug up the little receptor sites in the cells, so the key can't go in there and turn to get the hormones to do what they need to do within the cell. The hormones can't even get in there because they're plugged up. And Jim Rhodes talks a lot about how a lot of people with diabetes and how they become their insulin and their blood sugars are not controlled. It's because the insulin cannot get the glucose molecules out of the cardiac vessels, because what they do, insulin will grab glucose molecules and shove them into your fat cells. But if there's fat cells that are already plugged up and they can't get in there, it's going to keep sending more insulin out. I thought that was very interesting insight that Jim Rhodes had shared about, why some people's insulin isn't controlled. It's because there's too much stuff in the way. So I think you heard that call with Jim Rhodes as well, Jojo, but it was very insightful. So, and you think about midlife crisis and some of the things that people are going through where they can't sleep at night, their temperatures are off and hormones are just out of balance. It's not that they're out of balance, it's that there are things in the way that are preventing the body to do the job that it can do in the innate capacity. So we need to aid the body to help remove these things. Yellow Dock was one that Susan Sly really liked. She says it's a beautiful blood and kidney cleanser. It improves, or she didn't say that. This says this actually in the book. She's reiterating it. It improves colon and liver functions, helps with inflammation of nasal passages and respiratory tract. It's excellent for people with anemia, which decreases the number of red blood cells and lack of oxygen being distributed as a result to the organs and the tissues. So you'll see people that have that kind of grayish look to them, or they just don't have that glow. They don't have the isoglow is what I like to call it. And so this is a result of, these problems, these challenges here. It's known for binding with heavy metals like lead, arsenic, and others, and flushing them from the body. They're also called chelators. We are exposed to these things every day. So wouldn't it be important that we support those parts of the body that addresses this exposure every day? Again, Jojo, and I mentioned this earlier, and these are ingredients that are in the book that I shared with you guys earlier that have had studies around these particular ingredients. So I just want to reiterate compliantly that we're not saying that Isagenix cures these things and takes care of these illnesses and these diseases or these challenges. We're just saying that we contain these ingredients that will aid the body to do what it can do. And,
well, and if you look at, Dave, if you look at the common thread, which is reducing inflammation and purifying the blood, and so we're taking toxins out of the colon, out of the blood, out of the system all the way around, and and reducing inflammation. So when we look back at our clinical study, which has actually been clinically proven to reduce inflammation, we see how all of these things tie together. And it wasn't put together accidentally, right? It didn't go, well, let's throw a bunch of ingredients together and see what they do. It was done,
Well, I
with
talked a
great.
little bit about how John Anderson was inspired when he was asked by Jim Coover, is it possible to cleanse every cell of the body? I talked about that a little bit at the beginning. And yeah, it's very, I like to call it, it's divinely inspired.
Absolutely.
Another thing that you were just saying too, what was it? I kind of lost it there, what you were saying. Hopefully it'll come back, but well, let's just continue on. It'll probably come back to me, but it was a cool point that I wanted to make based on what you were saying, but it just left my mind for a sec. So Podiarco is a bark that comes from the Brazilian rainforest. It's a natural antifungal, antibacterial. So there we go again, right? More of these antifungal, antibacterial, excellent at fighting candida and yeast, which is a big issue nowadays for a lot of people. Cleanses the blood, helps with smoker's cough, has been shown to help with cancer and cardiovascular problems, inflammatory bowel disease. So I think we've covered what, 4 or 5 ingredients now, and look at how they overlap, but yet there's some unique things that are contained within each one of these ingredients on their own.
Well,
Peppermint. I put together. When you walk out of a restaurant, they give you a peppermint, some kind of candy to take as you go. It like dawned on me. Oh, I get why they do that now. That wasn't like coincidence or just here's something good to freshen your breath. It's soothing to the body, especially the stomach. Increases good stomach acidity, aiding digestion. So you would want, as a restaurant owner, for your patrons to have. Not have problems with their stomach when they leave their restaurant due to what they might have just eaten. So why not give them some peppermint as they're walking out the door? You always, not always, but a lot of times you'll see that little peppermint, those little red and white striped candies as you leave.
that's what Altoids were originally created for.
Yeah,
Was your stomach.
Smart. So, and then useful for people with chills, diarrhea, nausea, and is very calming. So what a great marketing technique for restaurants. Eleuthero, this is one of the adaptogens. It comes from the ginseng family, and it was used in Chinese medicine. It's one of many. Well, there's about, I think, 11 or 12 adaptogens in the world, and we utilize just about all of them throughout the products and Isogenics. It's a very powerful adrenal support. And our adrenals get taxed a lot today in today's society. For athletes, it helps produce endurance big time. It's good for memory. It's natural, anti-inflammatory. It boosts the immune system. In Russia and Korea, because of the Chernobyl, they found that this particular adaptogen was great for exposure to radiation chemotherapy. It's also been shown that in clinical studies to be a natural antidepressant. So I want to kind of go through and so we can see how we're aiding different organs and the different aspects and dimensions of these ingredients. And we only listed a few, like 8 or 9 out of 100 different active ingredients within the Cleanse for Life. But those all combine together. So what we're addressing here, seen this chart at a chiropractor's office, and what you're looking at is the top half of the internal organs that have to do with cleansing. And the top half is an unhealthy body, and the lower half is a mirror reflection, but it's a healthy body. So what happens is as toxins come into the body, everything flows. If it doesn't go out the colon, it's going to go through the liver. Everything gets filtered through the liver. It's your number one defense against toxins if they don't leave the colon. So as a toxin goes through an unhealthy liver, you have fatty livers, they have that mucoid in the liver as well, and they're not functioning properly. So what you're going to see here is the toxins go through unaffected, unidentified, and they'll go into the cardiovessels on the other side. And what happens is they're going to be distributed through the body. Now, what they've learned is that your body will create fat. Fat is a mechanism to protect you from toxins. As well as overeating will gain fat, but what we found is there's another ulterior reason why the body puts on fat. It will store the toxins in the fat. Why? Because the body's smart and it wants to keep them out of your organs because it knows that that's an invader. It's something that will cause problems. And so it wants to keep them away from the organs, especially around the midsection. It's called visceral fat. So in a healthy body, well, and what we learned in 2005, 3 years after Isogenics started, is that your body does store toxins in fat, and it'll just build them up and store them away, and they just coagulate in there. So, fat isn't an organ that's vital and essential to you staying alive. So it just kind of quagmires those toxins in the fat and holds them there. But there's so many toxins that they're not just staying in the fat. Now, what happens with the cleanse, as you can see, how it's talked about some of those ingredients supporting the body to cleanse the body by supporting these organs. What happens is toxins enter the body. Most of them are going to go out through the colon because the colon's gotten rid of that mucoid now, and your colon's just clicking along and it's flowing, doing its job. But even toxins in a healthy body with a healthy colon, toxins are still going to get through. But here's what happens in a healthy liver. That toxin is identified, and you can see here there's kind of a water-soluble substance that gets put around the toxin. That triggers that toxin to go to the kidney and then is eliminated through the urination process. And that's how our cleanse, literally the majority of the toxins are going to be released, is through the urination process. So that's why it's important to be drinking a minimum of 8 glasses of water, that pH balanced water, on a cleanse day. You should be doing it every day, but even more importantly, on a cleanse day, because it's going to initiate the cleansing through the urination process. Anything you want to add there? I got the little the diet diagram next, Jojo, but you want to add anything there?
No, that was great. Let's move on to the next one, and then we can chat about what happens when the liver really doesn't know what to do with it, and it all ends up back in your bloodstream, because then we can kind of see where it goes.
Perfect. All right, so the little circle on the right or the left with the red dots is representing a fat cell. So you can see on Newsweek magazine, that's a fat cell, and the toxin is the little red hairy thing at the top in that fat cell. So over to the left, we're born and we die with the same amount of fat cells. They just get bigger and smaller. So what we're looking at here is a fat cell out of many fat cells around the entire body, and we're looking at it harboring the toxins. Now that fat cell has expanded. Now we're going to go on a diet. We're going to calorie restrict. We're going to exercise. And we're not going to put the energy that our body needs in the way of food. So the body has to go and get more energy because you're still exercising and you're not getting the calories in there. So what it's going to do is it's going to start to pull the fat out of the fat cells. So what happens, you can see, if you look at the diagram here, what happens is those toxins are released into cardiac vessels. How does that happen? Well, when your fat cell shrinks, those toxins are no longer in the fat. And you have blood vessels flowing through everything, even in your fat cells. And so those fat cells or those toxins get picked up by cardiac vessels and they start circulating around the body. That's when your body goes into emergency mode and it tells the liver to create more fat. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit a plateau. You can see how they didn't lose all the weight. You'll hit a plateau because the body's now using the liver. Now it's just you against your liver, and the liver always wins. 100% of diets fail. And what happens is we'll end up cheating on our diet, giving up, not get up that morning and go jogging, maybe eat a pastry or something on the way to work because we're just frustrated. So that allows the body to rebound and put on a lot of fat because the liver got a lot more calories to turn into fat. Now it's pulling those toxins and putting them back in the fat cells. That was like a huge revelation for me when I actually experienced just the opposite. When Carl Lamar asked me to stop exercising because I was exercising like a madman. I was over-exercising. And he says, look, you're going to get great results. I don't tell people to not exercise, but in your case, let's just watch and see what the nutrition does for you. So I cleansed. I removed the impurities in the body, and as a result, I lost 27 pounds in my first program. I went on to lose 53 pounds, And now at this point, 12 years later, it's 63 pounds. And so what you can see, the toxins that are in the blood vessels roaming around from my fat cells shrinking, they're being removed for the urination process as everything continues to filter through the liver. But this time they're getting coated because of the nutrients and what we saw about those ingredients and aiding those organs to do what they do. Now my liver's healthy. It's running like a Swiss watch, and it's coating those toxins, and now they're leaving the body rather than being redistributed, causing me to plateau and rebound. And I put this presentation together. I noticed today, 5.5 years into Isagenix. It's been almost 12 years now that I've been able to maintain my weight loss. So what a revelation after going through the top diagram so many times in my lifetime. Very, very empowering.
Well, you know what, when you think about, if we go back to the diet scenario, when we live on celery and carrots and really calorie restrict, and then shrink our fat cells down, but we're calorie restricting, the body has to get its nutrients from somewhere, right? Because we're not putting in enough nutrition. So what will happen is our body will start to feed on our lean muscle. So this is really important when you want to understand what yo-yo dieting does, right? So we're reducing the fat cells down, which is releasing the toxins into the system. We're calorie restricting, so our body's feeding on our lean muscle. So then when our body goes into this crazy fat overload scarcity mode, because our liver starts pumping out all of this fat, our fat cells get bigger, but we don't replace that lean muscle. So on the other side of that, so we've gone through this diet process where we yo-yo back up, we actually end up fatter percentage-wise because our fat cells have gotten bigger and our body has fed on our lean muscle. So we wonder why I start at 18% body fat, I go through this whole yo-yo diet thing, and now I'm at 24, and then I do it again, and now I'm at 28, and then I do it again, and now I'm at 32% body fat, or whatever those crazy numbers are. How come that happens each time? And each time our body loses lean muscle and gains more fat each time we go through that crazy cycle. So when we're cleansing, and we're cleaning that cell, and then we're able to absorb this amazing protein that we're putting in, right? We're able to absorb the nutrients. Then not only is our fat cells not getting bigger again, our body's not going into crazy fat overload mode, but we're also feeding that muscle the proper nutrients, so we're not wasting muscle away on top of it. So two really huge things about cleansing that really aid the body in staying fat reduction while building our lean muscle.
Yeah, and you think about, those toxins that build up in the body and the problems that they cause long term. So we're not just talking about a vanity thing or something that has to do with how we fit in our clothes or trying to fit in. We're talking about things that go well beyond that. We're talking about life. And the quality of that life and how long we'll be alive, even literally. It's that important. And as you're losing the muscle, like you were talking about, JoJo, people get weaker and weaker as they get older and older because they've been dieting for decades. And so atrophying muscle, man, you're accelerating that. And so people have a hard time getting out of the couch. They can't get up on their own. They need somebody to pull them up. They can't go up the stairs on their own. That's all part of this process that we're accelerating. So and the whole time they're wanting to get these results that we're getting through not causing those negative things to happen and then sustaining it.
Right.
So cleansing's become a way of life.
How important our balance is. And so when we continue to waste muscle as we age, then you see all the people who, waste, not only their balance is off. And not only that, but then our body, if we're not feeding it properly, is also robbing our bones of nutrition. So if we're not feeding it right, then our body's pulling calcium from our bones. So as we age, those two things are so important. So when we're able to clean that cell, when you think of absorption, because we aren't what we eat, we're what we absorb, right? So if we're absorbing a whole ton of toxins, that's not good for us. So cleansing is so important. But think about now having this clean cell, giving all this nutrition to the body, and it be able, the cell being able to absorb that nutrition and function at a higher level. Way different quality of life, energy, sleep, support, just how you feel, how your body functions on a regular basis. We're talking about it, and of course, is weight loss important? Of course it is, because it's important for your joints. It's important for, of course, we want to feel good about ourselves, and sometimes when our jeans are a little tight, we don't feel good. But not only is it for that, but we're looking at quality of life as we age, and that is the bottom line importance.
Yeah. So think about neural blockers, hormone blockers, and even nutritional blockers. You know, these heavy metals, aluminum, you know, all of these different things, we need to get them out. So let's just go through, let me just pop some of these up here. I picked some of the weight loss pictures that I think really show the benefit of the cleanse side of it, where you can see the extracellular water, the edema, the fat that's hard to let go. So somebody who's in great shape right here, but yet that's toxic fat right there. That's stubborn fat is what it's called, but it's really toxic fat. And look at that. And you look at this type of weight loss where you're seeing this type of stuff happen, like myself right here. You know, look at these people. Jeff Beebe at 55 years old. This young man right here, he went from 13% body fat. You can see it. That's toxic, stubborn fat around the midsection, to 8% body fat, while taking the other nutrition, the whole nutritional program of Isagenix 30-day system, put on 15 pounds of muscle at the same time. Drop body fat, put on muscle. That's the exact opposite of a diet. You gain fat percentages and you lose muscle. So we really have a solution. I'll show a few more pictures here. Like this one here, you can see the edema. There's the extracellular water. You'll see that like that's different than just storing toxins in your fat cell. That's putting on extracellular water due to the scarring, the inflammation that build up. And look what happens when you cleanse that out. You heal, you restore at the core. For some reason, she's covering up this gal behind us and this guy here. But I mean, you look at that, and so Jill Birth, 4 pounds in a year, 12 months. She was our IsaBody Challenge winner. Those results, yes, it's the whole nutritional program, but it's the cleanse that's really accelerating that fat loss. And for somebody like Lori Harder, who's a figure competitor who had never taken a first place until getting on our program, including the Cleanse for Life, you can see the different results. She took 3 first places in a row and in a Miss Universe, and she's on magazines all the time. So you can see this type of visceral fat. And thank you, Kim Olson, for leading the way. One of the first people to lose over 100 pounds on Isagenix. So, you know, we did a clinical study. I just want to finish up with things here. We're right at that hour. But this is the clinical study that was done, and you can see the fat loss, that 4 times more fat loss compared to the Heart Healthy diet, which is the medical community's best diet. That's the best that the country has to offer. And what was, you know, 4 times more fat loss, but look at the toxins released through urination. He said there's only 2 machines in the world that exist, and one of them's in his office to check for toxins released through the urination process. So what we're talking about here, it is verified through a clinical study that has ended up in medical journals, peer-reviewed medical journals, including PubMed. The biggest thing was the visceral fat, and you can see it right here. This is before. The white stuff is the fat. This is an MRI cutaway of the internal organs. So this would be your midsection with your digestive system, your kidneys, liver. This is toxic fat, and it's the most dangerous fat around the organs. It causes problems. But what's happening is the body is trying to keep those toxins out of these organs. Look what happened with no exercise in 11 weeks with visceral fat, 33% visceral fat decrease. This is unheard of. This is an unprecedented thing that's taken place within the Isagenix clinical study that was done by Dr. Paul Orserio. Do you want to add anything to that, Jojo? I mean, this was ranked the #1 study in the world over Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Stanford, all of these big universities out there. Paul Orserio, and this study was ranked #1 in the world.
Well, so you guys can see, I mean, imagine if the person was cut in half, right? So that's what we're looking at, is straight through the middle. So if you look at A, I mean, those are intestines that we're looking at in organs. And if you see all the fat that's built up in there and what was gone after just 30 days, can you imagine that this person's digestive system improved? without all of that extra fat in there. It's funny because I was presenting to a doctor and showing him this slide, and he said, oh my gosh, he's the one who pointed that out to me about how, you know, people have such digestive issues. He said, imagine how much that changed for them. So this picture shows a lot to me. But that was one of the huge things that they pointed out, which was really cool.
Look at this right in this area, how this thing is all forced in over here, and right here it's like room to breathe. Wow. That's amazing. So Cleanse for Life, you guys, it's really become a way of life, and yeah, I'm so grateful for it. I had never heard of cleansing before, and I'm so grateful that this was introduced to me. And being a, I don't know, I guess you can call it I can call it an equalizer in a world where we're exposed to so many toxins. And what does that mean for me as an individual? Well, I have more energy, I have better mental clarity. I'm able to breathe freely. I'm able to enjoy life and do the things that I want to do when I want to do them and feel great about it and not have to pay the price afterwards because my body is able to recover, it's able to sustain and maintain. And so Cleanse for Life. So anything you want to add in closing here, Jojo, before we sign off, or answer any questions that anybody might have asked?
You know what? I'm not on the other side, so I can't see the questions, but maybe let's go there because I can't see.
Okay, let's see. Is it okay to do a 2-day cleanse every week, or is it better to do a 2-day cleanse every other week? You want to answer that?
Sure, and you can do them every week, but we only want you to do that. So you figure 2 9 days in a row. So that would be 2 1 week, 2 the next week, and then to start another 9-day would be 2 1 week and 2 the next week. So, and then give your body a break and either do just a 1 day or do some nightlies after that. And then you can go back and do it again, but in the beginning to really push through, it's really best to not do more than 2 a week for a month.
Yeah, and I didn't mention how much, when you're doing a cleanse day, like a 24-hour cleanse day, you'll do 4 servings throughout the day. That constitutes a full cleanse day. So with the liquid, you would do 4 ounces 4 times. So you're taking in a total of 16 ounces of cleanse throughout the entire day. You're not eating food. You would be using the snacks and the other things that we had talked about. So let's say like I did a servings of cleanse in the morning, like 7 o'clock. My next one I might do around 11, and then 3:30, and then around 7:30. So with the liquid, you would do 4 ounces each time. So that would be half of the 32-ounce bottle or half of the powder bottle. You would do 2 scoops of the powder. 2 scoops is equal to 4 ounces of the liquid. And you can mix both of them with water as much as you like. You could drink the liquid straight without mixing it with water, but you want to make sure you're following it with water and getting that fluid in there to help distribute that cleanse throughout the body and give it the aid that it needs to do that. So you would use, on a 1 cleanse day, you would use half of this bottle of the powder. And it has its own scooper. So remember, 2 scoops or 4 ounces of liquid. That would constitute a 24-hour cleanse where you would do that 4 times. Nightly cleansing or daily cleansing, you can do 2 to 4 ounces of the liquid or 1 to 2 scoops of the powder before bed at night and also when you wake up in the morning. So anything else you want to add to that, Jojo?
No, that's good. And I know that you talked a little bit about snacking on your cleanse day. And, you know, there's lots of information going on out there. And so if you look at some of the things that have been shared, so if you look at some Facebook posts and things like that, people post up all kinds of crazy things to have on a cleanse day. And so know that anytime that you throw your body into digestion mode, your detoxification process will stop, which is why the snack wafers, the little bit of Isodelight chocolates, and like say 2 to 3 whey thins, and not all at the same time, right? But actually, the way John Anderson set it up is cleanse and snack wafers. And you know, if you need to, I know some people that can't get through cleanse day if they don't have their 2 Isodelights, and that's great. That's totally okay. We want to make sure that we're not doing a hard-boiled egg. We're not doing a handful of almonds. We're not doing those things that throw us
A salad.
into digestion mode, right? So water, cleanse, snack wafers, Isodelites, 2 to 3 whey thins. Like somebody goes, oh, I can have whey thins on my cleanse day now. Yeah, but not a whole bag at one time. So we're looking at replacing what a snack wafer would be, or 2 snack wafers, which is about 25 calories. So 2 to 3 whey thins is what you want to do for one of your snacks throughout the day. And they're really important, so don't skip them. Please do the snack wafers. And I know they're not a party in your mouth, but if you suck on them, they're way better, and they totally balance out your blood sugar and give you good proteins and aminos and fats that help you get through the day. So they are really important for your cleanse days.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, somebody asked, what about e-shots on a cleanse day? I mentioned all the others, but I didn't mention e-shots, and yes, they're approved on a cleanse day. You know, for me, I'll do 1 to 2 on a cleanse day. But if I'm doing the Isodelites and I'm doing the wafers, I really don't need a lot. You're actually running better when you're not filling your body with all kinds of stuff, right? So, and the second day, you guys, a lot of times, and for a lot of people, is easier than the first 24 hours. So if you're doing a 48-hour cleanse, that second day is actually easier. I will admit it gets a little harder as the day comes to a close on the 48-hour cleanse. But if you're doing things right, and you're using your Isodelites and you're maintaining your activity level and stress level, a 48-hour cleanse could be very revitalizing. It's not a punishment, but if you could make it to where you're punishing yourself if you don't do it right.
Totally.
Okay.
And people who have struggled through that, and the snack wafers will really get you through. They're like, wow, I never thought that that would work. But if you take 1 or 2 of those snack wafers and drink a glass of water, you're totally set.
Yeah, and they're saying how many snacks can you do? I think in the kit as a starting point it says 6 on a cleanse day. I'll tell people what's
9.
that?
You can do typically what I teach is that every hour that you aren't drinking a cleanse, that you do something. So say at 9 o'clock you start your cleanse, then at 10 o'clock you would suck on one of those snack wafers. At 11 o'clock you would suck on one of those snack wafers. Maybe 12 o'clock you would do your cleanse, right? So every hour, and you'll find that you probably skip an hour of a snack in there, and throughout the day, that should totally make you feel good. And drink a glass of water each time you do your snack, and you'll be set for the day. Make it way easy.
Yeah. Yep. If you plan it out and look at it with a positive mental attitude, and know the results that are going to come from it, cleansing is just great. I love it. And I'm not going to say that every cleanse day for me that I ever do is perfect. There are cleanse days that I quit because it just became too difficult for me in that moment. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing the program. It just means I'm going to recoup, get myself to where I'm ready to do another cleanse day, maybe wait a week, or maybe try it again the next day if I didn't get that far into it. So just know that this program is very flexible and very forgiving. Just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's an incredible program that has been proven to work again and again and again. That's it, I think. Let me just check and see if there's any other questions. Nope, that's it. All right, Jojo, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for getting on. And I will post this into YouTube, and then we'll have it there available at the Mechanic to Millionaire YouTube channel. And we'll post it to our various groups. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Jojo.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dave. Bye.
Bye-bye.